Welcome back, or just welcome, depending on which order you're watching these episodes in. John's told me he's going to put two separate podcasts out because we were going very, very long. So this will be the AFC section of our free agency run through. You might want to refer to the part one with the NFC before joining into this. But either way, let's crack on. AFC East and the Bills. What do we think about the Bills and their approach to the offseason and free agency? Matt Milano, they've re-signed him 4 years, $44 million, and they've cut John Brown, Tyler Croft, and Norman, who I forgot was even still playing in the league, Josh Norman. But I don't see a lot of movement for the Bills. You think they'd want to keep on top now that they're on top in that division, right?
What else do they need though? Like you said, they're on top on that division. John Brown was injured for most of last season, and he's like 31, so it's not a massive loss. Like you say, Josh Norman didn't do anything. So yeah, they need to. I think they need to bolster the offensive line. They could do that in the draft.
Okay,
I think they're fine.
It just feels a bit like they're standing still at a time when they should be executing every possible move to stay on top. It's very quiet for me.
Yeah, I don't know.
Paid Josh Allen, didn't they?
Well,
they paid Josh Allen, and then the cap got cut, so they probably haven't got that much wriggle room, have they?
I don't know what the number is, but
6.2 million under.
Because Allen was paid a fair amount, wasn't
he? Yeah.
They haven't. I mean, they need
an extension.
Yeah, they need to give him an extension.
Doesn't count until next year. But I think they're in a really good place, and actually, it's not sort of stick or twist, but they've just get rid of some extraneous bits. I think they've still got room for
extraneous.
Josh Norman. I'm trying to think of a nice way to put it, so I'm just going with extraneous.
I'd describe him as extraneous at least.
But I wouldn't be surprised if over the next whenever they end up with someone like a Sherman to replace Josh Norman.
It's entirely possible, but I'm not sure that's an upgrade.
I think it is. I think it's a massive upgrade. For one, he's not a dick. I mean, he's a dick, but Josh Norman, and I think he would give that team some leadership further leadership in defence. I think that'd be really good. But I don't think they need a lot.
They need Chris Carson.
Yeah,
that's what they need
as well.
Because their running game is not that great. No. Singletary hasn't been amazing, and is it Zach Moss the other one? So Chris Carson's a free agent. Gary. So.
I think you're spot on. I think Chris Carson's not my favourite, but he's one of the best running backs available. I think that's a really good shout for the Bills. Right.
Wait. Go on. I know we're not going to talk about the draft, but they're picking late in the draft. Running backs are going to fall down in the order. Pick up a first-round running back. Done.
Sure. Why not? The running back does seem to be their position of weakness, if you like. So I think it's a great shout. Come on then, let's move on to the team that have done all the free agency spending for the first time ever.
Get to them.
The Patriots. Somebody want to tell me what Bill Belichick has suddenly decided to do? Because I've never seen this before.
Well, I think Bill's in win now mode as well because he's pretty old and probably wants to retire soon. At some point, he'll stop.
Well, let's try and do it in some sort of order then. So they re-signed Cam. Yep. What do we think of re-signing Cam to what is effectively backup money?
Really cheap money.
Yeah. You really needed a quarterback still. Apparently, you do need a quarterback to play this game.
Yeah.
Despite,
well, I would take issue
what the Broncos might do.
He's clearly more of a running back than he is a quarterback. But I'm willing to suggest that last year was derailed by not
having anyone to throw to.
Yeah, not just him having COVID, but the whole COVID thing in a system that was new. And the fact we surrounded him with what might as well have been the four of us playing as his offensive weapons. So let's suggest that last year was as bad as it can be. We still won 7 games.
Yeah, exactly. I think you've improved.
The team love him.
Look how well Cam Newton played with Greg Olsen at tight end in Carolina. You've now got 2 good tight ends, providing Hunter Henry can stay fit. And if he can't, Johnny Smith is there. You've got, I know Kendrick Bourne and Nelson Aguilar aren't going to inspire, but they're both fast wide receivers who are going to stretch the field. That's going to make room for those 2 tight ends underneath, but it's also going to make room for the running game as well.
I'll tell you why Aguilar specifically has been signed. Cam's biggest problem is medium range accuracy. So if you give him these 2 tight ends, Jonnu Smith and Hunter Henry, which, by the way, is now probably the best tight end tandem in the league. Right?
Yep.
You give him these 2 guys in the 5 to 10 yard range, he's going to be really good, and they're going to be brilliant. And then you've got this gap from 10 yards to 25 yards where Cam can't accurately throw the ball. So they're going to bypass that, and they're going to send Aguilar and Kendrick Bourne sprinting down the field, and he's going to throw over the top. Because on a few occasions when he tried that last year, he was really good. Yep. So they're basically looking at his weakness and saying, we just won't play that portion of the game. We'll use the running game to cover that area. It just basically looks like they've decided to tailor the game round Newton's issues. Yep, I don't think they're going to draft. I don't feel they're going to draft somebody because I don't think Bill wants to work with a young quarterback.
I think, and the other thing is, on the other side of the ball, you get eight defensive starters come back next year after being on the COVID list.
Hightower, Chung, that's massive.
And then you add in Matt Judon, who's not absolutely an amazing pass rusher, but he's above average, and he could be great in that system. You add in Jalen Mills at safety, suddenly the Patriots look like this time last year. We were looking at the Patriots roster and we're like,
it's bad.
Wow. Wow. This is, and we're all thinking Bill's going to do something. It's going to be better because it always is. And it wasn't. And winning 7 games with that roster is a massive achievement. But now he's got decent players on there and more to come, I think. I think they've still got 40 odd million left to spend. So they could bring in someone like Kenny Golladay. They could bring in another big defensive starter.
Apparently, they're talking at running back. There's talk that they're talking to Fournette. Now, I'm not sure you want Leonard Fournette, but clearly...
I don't know. I don't think your running back stable's all that anymore.
No, it's not. And it's more the fact they're going to lose James White by the looks of it.
And James White hasn't been James White for, 3 years.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you look at the players that you're losing, and James White and Jason McCourty are the only 2 that kind of really stand out aside from Brian Hoyer.
What about JC Jackson?
Yeah,
I think that's a big deal. I'm hoping they'll still bring him back.
I think the fact that he's not been signed by someone following the year he had means that he's probably going to come back because they've got money to pay him. It's just there's probably going to be a bit of negotiation because of how much Stephen Gilmore gets paid.
Yeah.
He's going to be looking for that money.
Gilmore and Jackson, bring all those defensive starters back and add Matt Judon and Jalen Mills. What I think they're looking at is we want the best defense and the best special teams that we can have, and we'll make the offense as good as Cam can be, and that will be good enough. He did run in 12 touchdowns last year, so I don't know. I think Gary is right. I think Bill has said no. This is the flag I'm planting, and over the next 2 or 3 years, this is what we're going with. He's not interested in coaching a young quarterback. Stidham was a complete failure. It just hasn't happened. But anyway, we've spent a ridiculous amount of money, and we look like we're going to carry on doing it. And I've never smiled so much as I was watching those things.
I think he's probably seen enough leadership or behaviourally what he wants to see from Cam.
Apparently, the locker room absolutely love him.
And I think if Cam's happy to play for that sort of money, and then if it doesn't work out, they can move on. I don't think Bill's bothered.
No, probably not. I wonder who will be the backup. I don't think the backup's on the roster at the moment. I still think maybe you might see Mariota get traded to see if he can push Cam, because it would be a similar way that the 2 of them operate. So if Cam does get injured or isn't playing well, you can drop him into the same system. That wouldn't surprise me. I don't think they're interested. They're not going to find a quarterback at wherever we're drafting, 15 or whatever, that's going to be good enough to start. So I think that's where we're at. Right, the Dolphins.
Does Gilmore stay?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, probably, because they've got the money. Basically, Jim's point is if you all want to stay and you all want to play and you think we can be better, you're all going to have to negotiate down because we can pay all of you, but you've all got to play the game.
Isn't that the issue? Gilmore doesn't want to know. Gilmore's earning 10 million less than what a cornerback should be earning. He doesn't want to negotiate down.
Depends where else comes in for him then. I mean, to be honest, he's not been the same player the last 18 months that he was when he earned the contract. But I wouldn't want to lose him and Jackson. I think we need to keep at least one of them.
I think you've got to pay Gilmore. I think he's done enough through his career to get paid. And if the Patriots don't want to pay him, and that is a deal breaker for him, then he goes.
Yeah, you're probably.
But that will hurt if that's the case, because someone will definitely pay him.
He's a top 5 or 6 cornerback. It's just he's not the number 1 cornerback he was when we signed him. But no player stays the same forever.
No. It's just the rumours are still going around.
He was defensive player of the year before last, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm not going crazy.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
Yeah,
since then, he hasn't lived up to that. He wasn't fantastic.
What, in a depleted defence last year?
No. I understand.
It was all on him.
But I think that's the thing. I think they wanted him to do even more in there, and it perhaps wasn't realistic. I'm not saying it was. I'm just saying that's the microscope he was under last year, because he didn't opt out. If he'd have opted out, we wouldn't be having this conversation. We'd be saying Defensive Player of the Year returns, but maybe he got made to look less than he is because everything else was so bare around. You bring Hightower and Chung back into any team, that defense gets a third as good as it was the year before. You know what I mean? Like an extra third, because they're both brilliant. So, anyway, the Dolphins. We must move on, or I can talk about what's happening all the time. So obviously they've lost Fitzmagic. Who did you tell me they brought in?
They brought in Jacoby Brissett. Yeah,
Jacoby Brissett. Do you know? Fine. I think this is faith in Tua, if I'm honest. I think they're saying we're going with him and we've got somebody who can relieve him if they have to, but that's not the plan for this year. It's not going to be like last year where you saw him dragged off the field and Fitzmagic thrown in. This is going to be the Tua show for me. This is where he gets traded in a minute. And
I was going to say, watch the space for him going to Houston.
I think this is the Tua show, and I think it's the right move. I don't think last year he was coming off an injury in college. They had no preseason. I don't see what the problem is. He was fine. He was good enough. So
I completely agree.
Other than that, they've not done a lot. They've lost Godshow to the Patriots. That was one we didn't mention.
They cut Carl Van Noy, which I thought was a bit of a surprise. He's a decent player.
We'll have him back as well. That's fine.
You would not be surprised if he did.
Matt Brader has gone as well.
Yeah.
I thought he had a disappointing season for them, but I like him. Somebody will pick him up. Other than that, what do the Dolphins need to do?
Needs to improve the offensive line. They probably need more weapons for Tua. Another piece or two on the defense. But I don't think this team's very far away.
No.
I think if Tua does make that step up, then they're competing for playoff positions next year.
Who's the tight end at Miami?
Gesicki.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's fine. He was decent in spells last year.
Yeah.
He had like 3 decent games and then a dud game. Yeah, I think you need that relationship between the tight end and the young quarterback. So hopefully that develops.
They're picking number 3 in the draft, and quite frankly, I see them trade out of that and
they could
get more draft capital.
Third round picks. Yeah,
exactly.
They should. If they're going to ride with Tua, they need to give him just depth and pieces. Let's talk about a team that's always terrible, the Jets. Yeah. What do we think about the Jets? I mean, Gary pointed out earlier that they've signed Corey Davis, 3 years, 37 million, 37.5, I think it was, which I like because their wide receiver core was poor and he had a really good year last year. They signed Lawson, 3 years, 45 million. Other than that,
Pat Elfin, who's a decent enough guard. I mean, the big questions all for the Jets. The big question is always going to be what are they going to do at quarterback.
So that's where I was going. So Flacco's gone.
Well, yeah, that wasn't what I was referring to.
And Frank, but no. So Sam Darnold. Surely they're going to draft and open a competition up. Surely.
Yeah, I think he's gone on draft day or the second day of the draft.
Yeah, this could be another landing spot for Alex Smith.
Yeah, potentially.
Yeah.
I just think it's similar to what happened to Rosen the year Kyler Murray was drafted. As soon as the Jets draft their next quarterback, which would probably be Zach Wilson, everyone knows that Sam Darnold's then on the block. Someone will come in with a late second or early third round pick for him.
Although we forgot to say the Niners have re-signed Rosen.
I didn't even know you'd re-signed Rosen.
So Rosen is in. So
for good reason.
About signing Darnold, you could have Garoppolo, Darnold, and Rosen.
I mean, I'll take Darnold. I'd be happy for Darnold to go to San Francisco.
You should. I think it's such a wasted talent.
Yeah.
My belief in him has not faltered. I absolutely think he's a star quarterback. It's just he's been in a terrible situation.
Yeah, exactly. He's not been helped. He needs a fresh start. I think it's a good opportunity for the Jets to get a bit more draft capital and build around their new quarterback.
Fair enough. They'll still be bottom of the division.
Yeah.
Right. AFC North, the Ravens.
Ravens.
Baltimore Ravens. They've signed Kevin Zeitler, 3 years, $22.5 million. That's great because you need as much run blocking as you can get.
Yeah, I'm surprised they've let both Ngakoue and Matt Judon leave. I thought they'd sign one of the two.
Are you surprised that Ngakoue's gone though? Because nobody seems to want him. This is his fourth team in 2 and a bit years.
Yeah, but so then pay to keep Matt Judon then, because I think they're now lacking pass rush.
Yeah, it's true. They also let Mark Ingram go. He'd been signed by the Texans, isn't he?
Which is not surprised. Spent force.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
he is a spent force. And he did nothing last year.
No,
they've got running backs there now as well.
Yeah,
so
they've got one at quarterback.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, they've so RG3 has been cut. He's gone, and I think that's career for RG3 for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sad end.
I'm a bit surprised by that because he's a decent enough backup. He plays a similar game to Lamar Jackson.
Tyler Huntley came
in.
Tyler Huntley came in, didn't he?
Was it Tyler Huntley?
And he came in and just proved that he could also run. Yeah. So they were fine. They're like, we don't actually need RG3. So
fair enough.
They've also not re-signed Willie Snead. And this is not a team full of weapons. So
yeah, it needs another receiver or another tight end.
I look at their squad at the moment and I think it's all on the quarterback. Offense. It's all on the quarterback, and they're just not doing enough to help him out. So there's lots. If you're then counting in the defensive pieces they just lost, this is a lot. It's like a miniature rebuild, and I'm just not sure that.
And you've got to pay Lamar Jackson soon as well.
Yeah, they just seem to have dug themselves into a hole a little bit. So their draft is going to be interesting. I don't know what their cap situation is, but
16 million under.
Yeah, so they could still go out and acquire 1 or 2 pieces. Again, you think Lamar with Golladay or Allen Robinson, for instance, that'd be a brilliant upgrade for them because they're so weak at receiver.
It would be a brilliant upgrade, but those wide receivers would just spend the whole day being frustrated running.
Yeah.
40 yards in 4 seconds
True.
to watch the quarterback do the same behind them 20 seconds later.
It's so true. Yeah, that's perfectly fair.
Occasionally just watching a ball go over their head.
Yeah, it must be frustrating if you as a wide receiver there.
But yeah, it was because I mean Hollywood Brown moaned about it last year, and like as good as he is, I don't think he's brilliant. So you suddenly put in a really good number 1 wide receiver. He's going to get pissed that he's not being thrown the ball to.
Yeah, I think that's fair. It's certainly an interesting problem to have.
Let's send Antonio Brown there just for shits and giggles.
Okay,
Hollywood Brown's cousin.
Moving on to
they've just moved Des out anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
They've got rid of one troublesome wide receiver.
That's true. Des is technically still looking for work. Bengals, Cincinnati Bengals. Let's talk about what they've done. They've signed Trey Hendrickson, which I think is a really good signing for them. 4 years, $60 million. Awuzie, 3-year deal. Again, just finally putting some pieces on the defense because the defense is bad. I'm not really sure what they should be looking to achieve this season. Did they re-sign Brandon Allen as well? It looks like he might be starting for them because obviously Burrow's not going to be back till the middle of the season at the earliest.
Yeah, this is one where I think they almost need to keep their powder dry a little bit because you can write off next season because if Burrow's not available for the whole season, it's just let's just write it off. Let's save some of that cap space, build through the draft, because they're in a great position to draft an offensive lineman. Maybe sign another offensive lineman to make sure that the quarterback stays upright. And yeah, I kind of. It's going to be another year where Zach Taylor could have a free pass.
Yeah, it should all be about building the offensive line.
Yeah,
at the moment now. It's 6 months too late because your number one guy is in a
rehab
hospital bed.
He's in cast. Yeah,
he's it's still, and it's just absolutely mental. Still, offensive line is what you do. You need to build the offensive line, as Jim says. Draft any if you've got cap space, why aren't you going out and
what is their cap situation, Jim? What's the cap situation?
They've got a healthy $28.4 million left to spend.
Right. Then they need to get themselves a running back who can play every week that isn't Mixon, because he's only good for 4 games a season. Giovanni Bernard actually probably outperformed Mixon last year, which says it all.
Mixon's paid the 6th highest salary as a running back, exactly the same as Jones.
Which is insane, because I really like Joe Mixon coming out of college, and I think he's been good in flashes, but he just doesn't do it often enough. Even when he is fit, it doesn't mean he's going to contribute in a given game. He had like a run of 6 games last year where he was brilliant, and then he just disappeared again.
I'm not sure it's all his fault as well. The line is shit.
The offensive line is terrible.
Shit.
The line is shocking.
When Giovanni Bernard comes in, he generally looks better because what they do is they just stick Mixon through the middle through this appalling offensive line, and he just gets gobbled up. But when they get Bernard, they send him to the outside, and suddenly, he gets a bit more space. You're like, why don't you do that with Mixon?
Steady on everyone. John's getting technical. I like it.
Yeah.
This is good. But my point there was going to be, you've got to build from the running game, because their wide receiver group right now is as poor as anything. They've got Tyler Boyd and T. Higgins. Well, Tyler Boyd's good. T. Higgins is not good enough from me.
I think he's got potential.
Name the other two.
No. Wide receiver. Okay, I can't.
Gordon
Tate, Stanley Morgan Jr.
Yeah, wide receivers are never good in their first year. Rarely good in their first year. They come through, and same with tight ends. They come through in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th year. They're gonna lose AJ Green, which although he has been injured, it's still a big loss in terms of leadership in the locker room and a cult player for the Bengals. But they've got cap space, they've got draft picks. They can pick up weapons to put around Joe Burrow for when he does get back. And then next season they go again. They invest in the defense. I think the building blocks are there. They have to do everything right, which I don't trust them to do, because I don't trust that organization one bit. And if they do, they'll be in a similar position to where the Browns perhaps are now.
I hope so. I just think they're so weak all over. Like you say, it might not be Mixon's fault. Tyler Boyd will probably get better, but they've got not enough weapons. I don't like the tight end position. There's, not a lot there. I just think they've got so many holes to fill, and it's the same story every season. Every season. Burrow's just unlucky to have been selected there. Anyway, talking about Cleveland, they're next on the list. So, Cleveland Browns. John Johnson, 3 years, $33.5 million. I said earlier when we covered the Rams, I think this is a really good deal for them. Just keep strengthening that team. That's excellent. Looks like they're not bringing back Olivia Vernon, though, which was a bit surprising.
Yeah, they've got a decent level of cap space left over as well. Not a huge chunk, but certainly enough to probably pay Olivier Vernon. So a bit surprised by that one. Maybe he does come back and he's cheaper, but they've got $18 million left to spend. I don't think it's going to cost that much.
Doesn't anyone think it's really nice that we're not talking about their quarterback situation at all this offseason? Hasn't been mentioned.
No.
Browns are going to win the Super Bowl this year.
No, they're not.
I don't know about that. What happens with Beckham?
He goes.
Good question.
Yeah, he goes, but for what and where to?
Oh, for not very much, and whoever will pay his salary.
Yeah.
Concise and to the point. I'm tempted to agree with you. I don't think he brings anything to the team anymore. And
I think you saw, like we said at the end of the season, you saw the team become a team towards the end of last season. Actually, like Beckham, I still think there's a player there. I think he'll find somewhere to go, and hopefully he'll find his talent again. But Yeah, I don't think this isn't the right team for him. This is now Jarvis Landry's team and a set of other receivers. Remember, they've got to pay Baker Mayfield as well. His contract is going to be coming up, so they can start paying. They can start thinking about paying him now. Maybe they want to give him another year to prove himself.
They should pay him. They should absolutely pay him.
They should not make the same mistake Dallas made with Dak, because if he has another good year, it could cost him another $5 million a year. Where do you improve this team though? I think it's probably you have to replace the pass rush. I think the offensive line's good. The running back's obviously good. They've got wide receivers. They've now got a better backfield with John Johnson going there.
It's pretty damn good for the first time in a long time.
I don't think they will win the Super Bowl, but I think they'll be in the playoffs quite easily. I think they could easily win this division as well.
Yeah,
I agree, because the other teams don't look so hot. Finalising this division, Pittsburgh Steelers. They're bringing back Big Ben, to no one's surprise, but no one's delight. I think it's just a 1-year deal, isn't it? He restructured it down to not a lot of money, basically, to stay.
League minimum or something, wasn't it? It's like literally nothing.
Virtually for free.
Was it $5 million or something? It was nothing.
Well, they need to, because they've only got $2.7 million on the cap now. So they're under, but they can't afford to bring any of the other players back.
Yeah, Juju's gone, isn't he?
Juju's gone.
That's who the Patriots want.
Yeah, Bud Dupree's gone.
Bud Dupree's gone to Tennessee.
Villanova's probably going to retire. James Conner's gone. This isn't the same team as last year.
Yeah, Pouncey has retired. Villanova's gone.
Gone.
I think the problem they're going to have is their O-line is going to be shocking, and Big Ben can't move. They don't have a running back. I think this could be a really down year for the Steelers if they don't absolutely nail their draft, and I mean 100% of it, because I don't think they've got a lot to keep Ben in sort of points. I don't know how they're going to... Look how much he tailed off. He threw so many picks in the second half of the season. And this team's going to be worse. It's not going to be as good as the one he was playing with. So, I don't know. I don't feel bad for them in any way. I just think it's a bit of a strange move. They've got no backup quarterback. It's still Mason Rudolph, who we know isn't good enough. So they're going to have to draft a quarterback, probably. I don't know. They've not got a lot going for them.
Yeah, I haven't got a lot of confidence in them either.
It could be like the Patriots last year, or even worse. This could be like a 6 or 7 win team. Maybe.
They should be in the market for Darnold if Darnold comes available.
Yeah.
Good
Absolutely.
shout. Yeah. Good shout. Anything else on the AFC North?
Cold.
No. Excellent. Right. AFC South. Let's go to the Texans and what to do about a problem like Deshaun Watson.
Can we just ignore them?
Can we ignore them?
Yeah. They are so shit. Like, I can't believe you guys are picking other teams to be the first pick other than Houston.
It's a fair point, actually.
But that's only because Deshaun Watson's still there.
Exactly. Deshaun Watson is still there. I know he might not play, but right now you have to put him into the mix.
But he's not even going to be starting. He's going to sit it out.
I don't know that he will.
I'm not sure he will.
If you look how it stacks up, how much money he loses, it's something like $25 million across.
Doesn't matter to him.
You say that to
everyone.
He keeps reminding everyone he's rich. He doesn't care.
I get
and
that.
Quite frankly, if he doesn't play, he gives himself another year on his 2 years on his career.
He's not getting hit
Le'Veon 70 times a
and
season.
That's not what happened to Le'Veon Bell, is it? So
different position, different player.
You get hit just as much, And he was trying to earn the most money of any running back of all time because he was a dual threat, and he wanted to get paid as a wide receiver and a running back. So the fact is, having a year away from the game can be okay. And I get he's a quarterback and a very talented quarterback, but that's a lot of money to just walk away from, for one. And two, you've still got to go through all this again next year. You can't just walk away, can you?
He'd have to pull a Carson Palmer and retire, and he's not going to do that.
Can I just go through? Actually, the Texans have been pretty active in free agency.
Yeah.
Can I go through the list of players they've signed?
Can you start with the O-lineman that they've signed? Because they're trying to keep him happy.
Let's go for the...
Marcus Cannon.
Okay. He's not on my list, actually, Marcus Cannon. I haven't got any O-linemen on my list. Justin McCray, the guard. Yep. Kevin Pierre-Louis, Andre Roberts, the wide receiver. Derek Rivers, Sam and
Justin Britt,
linebackers. Mark Ingram, Chris Moore, Vincent Taylor, Terrence Brooks, Joe Thomas, Tremon Smith, Tyrod Taylor, who's now going to be perhaps starting and perhaps backing up Deshaun Watson. My point is, that there's nothing there that would keep, if I'm Deshaun Watson, there's nothing there that says to me, oh, and you've lost JJ Watt, like the other star player. There's nothing there that says, this is going to be a good team next year. I'm not going to get hit 60 times and win 12 games. 25, he's rich.
I agree.
Very quiet. You can hear the train has already left the station. It's absolutely ridiculous.
I agree with John and Jim in that I think it's over, but I think it's a messy, messy departure because they don't want to lose the other face of their franchise. They just let one walk out the door.
They're about to make, if they don't trade him before the draft, they're not going to get as much after the draft because teams need to know what they're doing going into the draft. And if you're like a Carolina and you're saying, right, well, okay, we haven't got this year's first round pick and this year's second round pick and next year's first round pick, but you know what? We've got Deshaun Watson, so let's go and use the rest of our draft picks. You need to have that in place. Now, if you come out after the draft, they've gone through free agency, they've gone through the draft. All you're left with is some dregs, and they won't get as much for Deshaun Watson after the draft than they would before. So the sensible thing to do, which is exactly what they don't do, is trade him now. Start again. You can get a bounty of draft picks for Deshaun Watson. I reckon.
Do you know why they don't want to do it? Because name the three best players in Texans history.
JJ Watt, Andre Johnson, and now Deshaun Watson.
And I'd have said DeAndre Hopkins instead of Andre Johnson, in which case they'd have lost all three in the space of a year and a bit. And you know what I mean? Like, that's a disaster. This is a house on fire. It's all over. John was right when he said, can we just ignore them? Because you're just going to watch this crumble. It's a shocking turn of events. Teams should never be letting their franchise quarterback walk away.
The one thing they haven't got, aside from a team, is draft picks. So use Deshaun Watson. Find a team who's willing to give you a quarterback. If you go to Miami and say, we'll take Tua and we'll take your 2 first-round picks. Yeah. I'm sure Miami would do that.
I think Miami would do that, but I just don't think the Texans... I don't think they can put enough around Tua to make him any good.
Well...
That's the problem. Yeah. Right. Indianapolis Colts. We know their starting quarterback is going to be Carson Wentz. We don't know how that's going to work out because this is a guy...
I'll tell you.
You really think that bad?
Yeah.
I don't.
I'm not sure. I think he'll be all right.
I think this is the best landing place for Carson Wentz. I think he's happy to be at Philadelphia, and he's back with the head coach who was his offensive coordinator who made him look good. Yeah, and it's a good team.
Yeah, they signed Autry from Tennessee, which I think is a good signing. Obviously, they lost a few players. Brissett, we know, has gone to Miami. T.Y. Hilton doesn't look like he's coming back. Houston, Rhodes, and then 2 of the tight ends, and they've been brilliant at tight end, but Trey Burton and Mo Alley Cox, both unsigned. It looks like they're churning a little bit on the roster, but they've still got an amazing set on both sides of the team.
Still got 41 million in cap space as well.
So go out and sign one of these wide receivers.
Well, they're gonna probably bring some of these players back. I expect they're letting them hit free agency, let them see what they can get, and they'll bring them back cheaper. Like, no one's going to sign Trey Burton realistically for that much money.
No, but tell you what though, if you were Indianapolis, would you not now be listening to the news that Zach Ertz is allowed to seek a trade?
Yep.
And trying to sign him to play him with Wentz because they have been brilliant together.
Yep. I'd also, and this pains me, I'd also be putting a package together for Trent Williams at left tackle because Castano's retired, so you need a new left tackle. And can you imagine, like left guard's Quentin Nelson, left tackle is Trent Williams. No one's hitting Carson Wentz from his blind side.
And that is what you need. You've got to keep him upright. I think they're going to be really good again, if I'm honest. They might even be better than they were last year.
Yeah, I could see them being better.
I really do think. Right, we have to talk about Jacksonville because they still exist as a team. We know they're going to sign Trevor Lawrence. He's going to be the number 1 pick. Other than that, what do we think? They signed Griffin 3 years at $40 million. Carlos Hyde 2 years, $4.5 million. But who is he going to be throwing to? Who is Trevor Lawrence? Who? Marvin Jones. Good. Well,
Philip Dorsett,
DJ Shark.
DJ Shark. Who?
Laviska Shenault. He'll be a second-year wide receiver, gadget player.
Yeah, gadget player. Basically, I was getting out. They're letting D.D. Westbrook and Keelan Cole walk away, and I'm not sure that's the right move. I think
Chris Conley's going as well.
Players. Who, sorry?
Chris Conley's going as well, who was quietly productive last year.
And a really experienced team leader on offense as well, Tyler Eifert, who didn't get any credit, but actually is a proper leader, a bit like Jason Witten sort of guy. Not as good, but that sort of character on offense. They're just letting him walk away, and it's another team that you just can't trust.
Well, yes, I agree with you. You can't, based on their past, you can't trust them. Bear in mind, they've got a new GM, Trent Baalke, who I don't like. They've got a new coach. We've never seen Urban Meyer,
who I don't like.
We don't know what he can do in the NFL.
Nothing.
He might be another Nick Saban. He might be another Bill Belichick. We don't know. So you're going to have probably the best quarterback that's come out of college games since Andrew Luck. So that's a decent start. They need to improve the offensive line. They've tagged Cam Robinson. They've got another first-round pick after Trevor Lawrence. They can use that to improve there, or they can use that to bring in some more weapons for Trevor Lawrence to throw to. I think they're going to be all right. I don't think they're going to be amazing this next season because they've got a rookie quarterback. They might challenge to get into a wild card.
Right. We know that Justin Herbert has set the bar for rookie quarterback. Yep. Right. Is he going to be closer to that, or are we looking at, I don't know,
Peyton Manning in his first year?
I think you're going to be closer to Tua because
me too.
It's just he doesn't have Keenan Allen, does he?
Very true. I agree. I don't know. I just think there's a lot of weight of expectation on Trevor Lawrence, and that it just might go horribly wrong because it's the Jags. I know that's not fair on anybody. I'm just saying that's how I feel about the situation.
It's not fair, but it's pretty accurate.
Thank you. I like it when somebody agrees. Right, Tennessee Titans. They've made one of the splash signings for me. 5 years, $82 million for Bud Dupree, which I really like.
Heck of a signing.
Then they've signed Jeff Swaim to replace Johnny Smith, which I don't like, but whatever.
But Paul will love it.
And they've lost Corey Davis and Johnny Smith, who were two of their biggest defensive weapons last year. And then the list of players that they haven't re-signed yet includes Clowney, Butler, Vaccaro, and Humphreys. Just, I don't know. It looks like a different team.
They're not going to sign Clowney because they've just signed Bud Dupree. And he was injured all year last year anyway. And Bud Dupree is exactly what that defense needed.
Yes.
So now they can focus on the offense through the draft. And they need to replace the tight end because Jeff Swaim's not the answer. And they need another wide receiver.
But if your question was who scored 3 touchdowns in a game, Jeff Swaim would be the answer.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just I really like what the Titans have done in the last couple of seasons. I feel a bit about them like I do with the Bills, that they just look a little bit stagnant, and I don't think it's time to be stagnant.
One of the biggest issues they have. Sorry, one of the biggest issues they have is at cornerback. They've let Malcolm Butler go, and Adoree Jackson's gone as well. That's their 2 starting cornerbacks. So they need to replace those as well. So there's work to be done. I don't think it's terrible, but I can't see them beating the Colts to first place in the AFC South next year.
For the Bills are stagnant. The Tennessee, this is practically a rebuild at some point because, I mean, unless their plan is just going to be for Tannehill to do that, and Henry's just going to run it for.
That plan does work.
Does.
If you've got him on your fantasy team, then great. But I reckon they might work that one out pretty quickly.
You'd like to think. Right. Let's get into the vinegar strokes here. Down the final straight. It's the AFC West, starting with the Denver Broncos and their terrible quarterback position. Drew Lock is looking like the starter more and more. I'm not sure about that for me. They've signed Darby 3 years at $30 million, and Von Miller is staying. So the defense continues to be strong. But what about the offense? Philip Lindsay going. Tim Patrick hasn't been.
I like that. Literally, no one's got anything to say.
No, because
I think Philip Lindsay's going, but actually, he's flattered to deceive.
He had an
the last
amazing
couple of
first.
years.
Yeah, he had an amazing first
year, and then
hasn't really done anything.
Hasn't really done. I mean, Freeman and Gordon. You know, I know how much you love Freeman, Griff.
Yeah.
But they, you know, that's a big one too. You know, I think they can get more out of Gordon. Jerry Jeudy is a wonderful wide receiver, really brilliant. And Cortland Sutton is back this year.
Yeah.
That make so if the defense can be as good as the final year of like the Peyton, then I mean Drew Lock doesn't have to do as much this year.
No, they have to replace AJ Boy at cornerback. That's the biggest loss. I mean, they signed Jarrell Casey from Tennessee last year, but he didn't have a great year, and I think they're just going to let him walk. They've obviously franchise tagged Justin Simmons again, which I think is the right move to make. But other than that, you look at the players they're losing; it's nothing that stands out.
Okay.
Apart from AJ Boyer.
I just don't understand the quarterback position here. I know Elway's moved upstairs, so to speak, but I still think he's in charge and looms large over this organisation. And it's like, this is my guy. I want Drew Lock. And I just think, what's the point of having those skill players you just mentioned on offense? Jerry Jeudy is brilliant, but not with Drew Lock thrown to him.
Yeah, I mean, completely agree.
Yeah. And I'd hate to see Sam Darnold end up at the Broncos. I would as well. I just think it's a bit of a graveyard right now for quarterbacks.
It could be worse for Sam Darnold. He could end up at the Texans. You know,
the Broncos should go and get Russell Wilson.
Yeah, but he won't. They're not one of his 4 teams. But if he could, if he's going to join the Bears to sort of break the hoodoo, and then he should be looking at Broncos.
I think that's a brilliant shout. Imagine with this defense and the skill players that they do have, such as Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson would be in his element. Their O-line's pretty damn good, isn't it? It's not by any means one of the worst. So he'd be better off all round. I don't know whether they
What's their cap situation like, Jim? I think they're okay, aren't they? Cap numbers.
The Broncos. Where are you?
33 million.
Because they don't pay a real quarterback.
No.
So. There you go. Yeah.
I think that's a brilliant shout. I know they weren't on his list of teams, but man alive, even John Elway can't cock that up if you get Russell Wilson after you had Peyton Manning. Jesus Christ. They should definitely be looking to engineer that. Right, Super Bowl losers, Kansas City Chiefs. They've lost their 2 starting guards, Schwartz and Fisher. But they have signed Joe Tooney to a huge contract. It was like 4 years, 80 million or something. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
That'll keep the quarterback happy. What about what else are they supposed to do? Sammy Watkins looks like he's going, but is that a big loss? Really, I'm not sure it is.
No, it's not. They've also released Williams, the running back, Damian Williams.
Yeah.
This evening. So, but again, not a massive loss because they've got Clyde Edwards-Helaire there. I think will be better in the second year. Daniel Sorensen.
Yeah, Brashard Breeland.
Yeah, Brashard Breeland. They need to make some moves. I mean, there were rumours that Holmes is going to restructure his contract to try and free up some space. I think he has to.
They need him to, because otherwise they're not going to have a full squad. I don't think. If you actually look at the list of players they've let go, it's huge. I think it might be the longest one in the league, and it's because they've got no space.
Yeah, and these are like good players as well. I mean, they're not star players, but they're players that can walk onto the Texans team quite easily.
Yeah, I still think they're going to be the team.
They will be. I mean, they absolutely will be because they've got a superstar quarterback and they've got other brilliant skill positions. I mean, Gary made the point right at the start of the show. It's like you've got 5 brilliant players who you're probably, I don't want to say overpaying, but they're definitely getting the lion's sum of the cap. And then they need to figure out how they need to draft well. And it's a good job because they can draft well. They've got history of that. But they need to probably hit on a lot of draft picks this year.
Good luck with that. The Raiders, Las Vegas Raiders. John Gruden's 5th year of his deal.
I'm losing count.
I can't believe that we're so far in. I didn't think he'd get this far. So the first thing to note here is they've signed Yannick Ngakoue, which I'm just not sold on. I don't think he's that good. 2 years, 26 million. Who is that? Your dog, Jim? Doesn't like Yannick Ngakoue either.
No.
More importantly, they've let Williams and Aguilar leave on the outside. And Derek Carr had good connections with those players. And they got a lot out of Derek Carr last season. Like, I thought he played really well. So I'm a bit surprised that they're letting the weapons walk away. And then Joyner, Incognito, Hankins, Beasley, all going.
Hudson as well. This was a good offensive line as well.
Trent Brown, gone.
Trent Brown's gone as well.
Yeah, obviously Trent Brown got traded to the Patriots. It's another season where they don't seem to have settled at all.
And it's odd because the thing they needed to do was bring in pass rushers. So whether you like them or not, Yannick Ngakoue, and they also brought in Tack McKinley as well, are two players that walk onto this team because they're better edge rushers than anything they've got. So they figure that out, and then you're right, they let a lot of other players go. Pieces, yeah, and you're like, well, where are you going to go now?
And we're going to have the same debate that we've had ever since Gruden's got there, which is he going to keep Derek Carr? And is he?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I think.
I think so.
I think so too, but I don't know. The team have moved forward since his first year, but they've not moved forward at any pace. It's a slow, and I know that's why you give a guy a 10-year deal, but halfway through that deal, really, I don't know. It doesn't. It just feels like a really meh team. Like, you're not going to pick them to win a playoff game, are you?
Well,
right now.
I can't see them getting into the playoffs because I think every team in the AFC West might be better than them now on paper.
Yeah, I agree. I absolutely think so. And that brings us nicely on to the last team in this rundown, and a team which I think might take a massive step forward again this season, the Chargers. So Los Angeles Chargers. They've signed Corey Linsley from the Packers, 5 years, $62 million, because Mike Pouncey, whichever one wasn't at the Steelers, also retired.
Maurice
Pouncey.
Malquise, yeah. The other one.
Yeah. They've lost Hunter Henry to the Patriots, but that's okay. They knew he was going anyway. I think they'll try and bring back Melvin Ingram if they can, but at the moment, that's not happening. But it's a really good team, a half-decent draft, and starting Justin Herbert for the whole season. I think this team's on a winner. They haven't got to do a lot.
Yep. They're in there. I mean, it's difficult to disagree because they're now in their playoff, in the Super Bowl window. They've got a quarterback who's on the rookie contract and he's got a year's worth of experience. He's going to be playing the full season. They've got good wide receivers. They're improving the defensive line. Derwin James comes back next year, who, if he can stay fit, which is now a big question mark, is significantly upgrades the defense. They've got a pass rusher in Joey Bosa. Maybe they bring someone else on the other side, and they've got $32.4 million left to spend in cap space.
It's all coming up Chargers.
Yeah, I mean, you look at this. I think you look at the Chargers from like when it was like 2 years ago, and they just moved to LA, and they were very much the lesser team in LA. Yeah. I think they're going pound for pound now with the Rams, and I think they're actually in a better. Looking at the next perhaps 5 to 10 years, they're probably in a better position than the Rams.
I think we, at times it was a bit harsh that Andy Lynn lost his job last year, but then when you describe it like that, you go, well, it was already a playoff team under Philip Rivers, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So, and you've now got they had some issues at quarterback last year, in the middle of the season. But they were in every game, weren't they?
Yeah,
so this, a bit like the Niners the year before they made the Super Bowl. They were in every game, and then they just stepped on. Is that just what's going to happen to the Chargers this year?
It should do. The difference was with the Niners, you were in every game because your coach is brilliant. Whereas the Chargers were in every game and didn't win half of those games because their coach was not. He may well be a good position coach. He's not a good head coach. I think.
Yeah, completely agree.
So if they can get the coaching right, this team
we'll see what Brandon Staley can do. He's obviously learned under Sean McVay, so God, I hate this term, but is he going to be another offensive genius? Who knows?
Well, he was defensive coordinator, wasn't he? So
was he? I thought he was offensive coordinator. Well, I stand
he's defensive. He's defensive coordinator.
Maybe he's a defensive genius.
But it's not just about him though. It's about the team he brings in, isn't it? That's what we always forget about coaches.
Yeah,
and it's not just about. It's just not about the name. It's what the team he brings in. So if he brings in an offensive wunderkind, then great. But let's.
I think as long as they don't do anything to ruin Justin Herbert, they don't need to do too much. He's just brilliant.
Yeah.
I really, really think that. I think he outperformed every expectation. Does anybody have anything to add before we sign off from this mammoth rundown of both conferences?
We didn't really talk about Drew Brees.
What, and his retirement? Well, we mentioned it. It happened weeks ago. Really, he was done after the end of the season.
Yeah,
he's already signed. Already signed to be a commentator, isn't he?
Yeah.
Well, we can bring up Drew Brees in the off season. Because I think he deserves more than just a passing mention on a free agency podcast.
I agree. I did promise Jim we would talk about it, so I apologise. But I've actually got a podcast part written for us to put in some sort of order the great players that have recently retired, because we've lost a few in the past few years. I'm not talking about Hall of Fame candidacy. I just want to have a look at the overview. You've lost Peyton, obviously, Tony Romo, Philip Rivers, Drew Brees, these quarterbacks that we've all grown up with, and there'll be others in there, and how you would rank them overall as well as amongst each other, because there's going to be a few more at the end of this season. Big Ben looks like he's going to be the next one to go, and at some point Tom Brady. So we will do a podcast on that. It's quite exciting to watch him just keep going, for me anyway.
But yeah, no, I think Drew Brees alone deserves some actual proper attention. So we can arrange something to go through Drew.
You want to give Drew Brees a happy ending, yeah?
I do.
Excellent.
Because he'd fucking hate that.
On that note,
wait.
Go on.
No. Last minute news. Do you remember last year the Eagles traded for Marquise Goodwin from the 49ers? They've just sent him back to the 49ers.
Well,
that saved them £1 million.
Saves them $4.2 million.
Oh, is it 4.2?
Yeah. He was good at the 49ers.
So he basically comes back and takes his job back from Kendrick Bourne, who's left.
Yes, exactly.
I think that's probably an upgrade for you, if I'm honest.
Never caught a pass as an Eagle.
Brilliant. He was injured. Oh no, he opted out, didn't he? For
COVID.
Yeah. That is the way to do it. I'm going to move. I don't even need to bother moving house. I'm never going to play. Oh, I can go back again. That is well-made money right there. I like that.
That's quality Eagles.
Upgrade the Niners for me.
And Titans have agreed to sign cornerback Janoris Jenkins.
So they have replaced.
So they've got one cornerback.
They've replaced Malcolm Butler, effectively.
Yeah.
Okay. I think that's a good shout for them. I like this breaking news thing. I'm going to sign off before we break any more.
Yeah, do it quickly before I keep scrolling through Twitter.
Thank you very much for listening to the Free Agency Podcast Part 1. We will be back. Bye, everyone. Bye.
Bye.